Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about my journey to finding Kaspa and basically the goal of this YouTube channel. So, if you guys are new around here, please consider leaving a like on the video and also subscribing to the channel because we're keeping it real for you and giving serious education and opinion on Kaspa. So currently I am a 21-year-old crypto investor and I started in crypto back in 2020. I remember the first crypto I ever bought was Dogecoin and I bought it literally at about 0.004. Now you're probably thinking that I made bank on this. No, I did not. I remember I rode this up all the way up to about 5 cents. And then this little time period of stagnation right here of 5 cents, I got tired of waiting because I was new and I was learning about crypto and just was a complete noob, to be honest. I got tired of waiting, became impatient, didn't understand bull cycles, didn't understand how long they last and all that. And I sold at 5 cents for only about like a $500 profit. I did not have that much money in crypto at all, or I wasn't making that much of income because back in 2020, I was literally an 18-year-old that just like started my first job and was just making a little bit of money to start, but was blessed with the fact that I can now work and stay home with my parents, still live with them, and they let me basically live for free. So it allows me to save and invest and prep myself before I move out and start a family of my own in the future. So I sold at 5 cents, and then I remember, yeah, it just going to 73 cents, all the way up there, and I didn't have any. I kept buying in and out, probably like at 10 cents, 15 cents, 25. I kept buying in and out. I didn't know what I was doing, just messing around, really learning. So it was like literally for a $500 profit at the 5 cent area. I wrote it up to that 10 cents because it did go to 10 cents one time and then drop. Like it was like 9 cents or something like that, dropped to 5 and then it stagnated for months. And then I was like, I'm done. This is boring. So I had Dogecoin, and basically that was like my first experience in the crypto market with something going up in price and just going through all the FOMO, the emotions, learning about all that. And so I was basically holding Dogecoin, I was holding Bitcoin, I had some Ethereum, I had some Chainlink, I had a ton of different cryptos. So by that time I started a finance YouTube channel under the name of my personal name, which is Victor Resto. I'm probably going to be starting that YouTube channel back up again in the future, but I did start a finance YouTube channel that was more like talking about my journey with investing, telling people what I was doing with my money and stuff like that. And it did all right. I mean, I got to like 300 subscribers in 2 years. I was not so consistent at all with that channel. It's a lot harder to make content about like finance in general. It's a lot harder and way more competitive on YouTube. And I've been messing with YouTube for many years, like doing iPhone jailbreaking tutorials, doing gaming, doing, and then did start doing finance stuff. And then now I started this YouTube channel, and I'm gonna get to how this YouTube channel kind of started as I get further into my journey. So 2020 was crazy, bull market going crazy. I started buying everything, and then ultimately, for you to actually start making money in crypto, most of the time you have to take a massive L. You have to just lose basically to learn your lesson. A lot of people take the L and kind of just leave completely. They go away and everything. But personally, I love investing. I'm passionate about finance. I'm passionate about learning how to manage your money because I think it's super important. It's like probably the number one thing you need to know how to do in life because everything runs with money. Like you need money to live, to get a house, to get food, to get gas. You need money to basically do anything you want in life. So that was one of my passions. When I got it introduced to me by a cousin of mine that was investing, had Bitcoin, had and was in it since 2017, he told me like, listen, you need to learn about investing. You need to learn about getting a retirement account, a Roth IRA. You need about doing all this. And I got super interested at the age of 16, and I researched a ton. And then when I turned 18, boom, I made it in a retirement account. I got my finances set, and that was the best decision I've ever done in my life for sure, because I've created a lot of wealth for my age at 21. I have no debt whatsoever, and I'm currently working really hard with two jobs, and now have this YouTube channel that's been very successful, and very thankful and grateful for your guys' support on this channel. I'm beyond blessed, and I want to continue creating value and hopefully giving my viewers more than just simply buy this coin, it's gonna go to 1 million, you're gonna be rich and stuff like that. I grew up watching these YouTubers, these finance gurus, these finance YouTubers, and it was always it taught me a lot about how crazy and difficult it is to manage a big viewers, like a big viewership on YouTube, and stay genuine and stay real. A lot of times these YouTubers, when you get bigger, you start to get greedy, and you start to change up how you do things, because then you're only focused on the money. And I witnessed a lot of mistakes that these bigger YouTubers did, that I think was good that I was never successful in my other channel, because it taught me the things that I'm not gonna do. And those are things like simply like promoting certain sponsorships that would be very, very bad, like the FTX situation with all these financial people that are just promoting FTX, and then that collapsed completely and stuff like that. I was like, okay, well, for sure, if I promote something, I need to make sure I personally use it, and that it's a product that's like not really meant to make people lose money, but do something well for them. So I found a really nice niche here of promoting hardware wallets, because that's probably the safest thing to promote. It's promoting a place to keep your crypto safe, because I don't want you to hold your crypto on exchanges, because that's like the riskiest thing ever. So Dogecoin was my first bet, and then I remember when Safemoon came in, and this was huge. I mean, this was really huge ordeal, and everyone was going crazy about it. I remember I was becoming so passionate for Safemoon, and I was being a complete and total idiot and not really thinking of what I was investing in here and doing my due diligence. But I remember getting really into CoffeeZilla's videos about Safemoon, and he exposed it all, and I was like, what am I buying here? Like, this dude's proving everything. It's completely a scam. The CEO behind it is the same CEO that was part of the original scam, which they admitted that Safemoon was a scam from the beginning. And honestly, what in the world is Safemoon offering to the space? Absolutely nothing. It's just a copycat. It's literally just a token. I know it's claiming it's going to create its ecosystem and its own exchange and all that kind of thing. It's a security at the end of the day. The SEC is going to come for it, and especially while we're in this climate of SEC issues, it's very important, super important, that your crypto is a fair launch, that you're holding at least a crypto that's fair launch, such as Bitcoin, or now Kaspa. I mean, Kaspa's crazy cryptocurrency that has recently come into the space and gaining popularity. So over time, I remember I that was my first big purchase. I mean, I dumped like $1,500 into SafeMoon, and I saw it ride up. I was in a huge profit. Didn't sell it because I was like, this is long-term hold. Yeah, I learning how to hold, and held it all the way down from $1,500 to like $180, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pull the plug, and I pulled the plug on SafeMoon at about the point zero zero right here. I pulled out like at 0.004 because I realized this was a scam. I started educating myself and learning why why in the world is it that Bitcoin remains number one. That became super like interesting to me. I'm like, why is it that Bitcoin's number one? And I'm a nerd, and I like to research the tech stuff and learn about that kind of area of crypto. And I remember telling people like, listen, sell your SafeMoon. I'm sorry I even told you to buy it. I was telling people to buy SafeMoon and stuff like that too. I was like, yeah, this is going to be great, but it really, there's no foundation to why it was going to be great. It was just like, oh, it's going to go up in price, guys. There was no facts, no reason why. Like, what are they going to implement? Like nothing. It's just a bunch of false lies. Like there's really nothing there at all. So basically after Safemoon and I took the L there, I found VeChain and I dabbled into VeChain and I figured out that VeChain has NFTs. So once I figured out VeChain has NFTs, I got into it because I remember I messed with NFTs during the bull run with Ethereum and just took a big loss, like, and I was like, Ethereum's fees are horrible. Like, what's the point of doing NFTs there? But when I found NFTs on VeChain, I was like, what? The fees are like zero. It's easy. All these NFTs are way cheaper than Ethereum NFTs. Maybe I can like make some money here and get into NFTs. And I actually did pretty good. Like, I started trading NFTs and I started making pretty decent money trading NFTs in a bear market, actually, because this is kind of skipping over once we entered the bear market. But before the bear market, when all of the exchanges started closing, I kid you not, I was in the BlockFi exchange, I was in FTX exchange, I was in Celsius exchange, and I almost made a Voyager account. So I literally had exposure to all the exchanges that collapsed, but I don't know how, literally by Lord's mercy, I did not lose any money, and that is because I had all my money in BlockFi at one point. Then I found FTX. I put all my money on FTX because their APY was better. And then when I had my money there, literally like after a week or a month of me being on FTX, Voyager goes down. I was just in the process of making a Voyager account because Voyager has a even a higher APY. So I was like, oh yeah, I was about to make an account, and literally while I'm making the account, like within a week or two, I was having problems depositing money on there, which is actually really good because they collapse. When they collapsed, I started seeing videos and people educating, like, not your keys, not your coins, all this kind of stuff. And I said, all right, from this day on, I'm not trusting any exchanges. So I completely took off all my crypto from FTX, moved it off there, and so I was on BlockFi, I left BlockFi, I was on FTX, I left FTX, I was on Celsius too because Celsius did have a higher APY for like Ethereum, so I was like moving around just looking for the highest interest returns, which is stupid for crypto. But yeah, so I was hopping around, but then eventually I was like, okay, I'm done. Voyager's out. I don't know who's to say all these exchanges are gonna go down too. So I don't know. So I'm just gonna hold them offline. So I started with like a hot wallet, Exodus wallet, to hold my crypto, and I started holding VeChain and Bitcoin. Pretty much that's what happened. I ended up having VeChain, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Eventually, I sold all my Ethereum for VeChain because I was like, oh, VeChain's way better than Ethereum. So, let me just hold Ethereum long term because I'm pretty sure VeChain could beat Ethereum in the long run. But, again, I started dabbling into NFTs. I started trading NFTs. It became pretty profitable a little bit there. I was making a lot of passive income because there's a lot of staking things you could do with NFTs. But again, it was just so much to maintain and to take care of and to like watch. And then if you're trading it, you got to be on top of it, trying to trade your NFTs in and out. And it wasn't that hard. Like I was making money, but it just, it was a lot to track. And I was like, I want something that's like, I can invest and then not have to do all that crazy deep research all the time or just tracking it all the time. So that was difficult. So eventually I stumble upon this YouTuber called Bitcoin University. He was called Traders University in the past. I found this YouTuber, and this guy is awesome for Bitcoin content. He's a straight up Bitcoin maxi. He will never, probably ever, give any respect to Kaspa unless it gets in the top 10. Then he might mention it. But other than that, he's gonna kind of like just put it off and not talk about Kaspa at all. Because he's just a straight Bitcoin maxi, which all respect. I don't blame anyone for being a Bitcoin maxi because all these altcoins are ultimately not scams, but just they're just pump and dumps because all these altcoins are basically companies that are funding themselves with retail investors because they keep pre-allocated coins to themselves. And I've brought this up many times on this channel about these pre-allocated coins, and you could see here as an example how, like, you have Ethereum that has a bunch that goes to different different teams and public sale, and then the VCs, and then Binance. It's a 50-50 split between the insiders and all that kind of stuff. So I've been showing this on this channel a ton about the fact that these cryptos have pre-allocated coins, and these pre-allocated coins allow these investors, these early investors, to dump on you, or the team to dump on you, because they issue more supply on the market because they need to fund themselves. They need to fund the company to pay the workers who are working on the project. And that's an example of a non-fair launch coin. It's not fair launched. And so Bitcoin University kind of like was on the target about BlockFi, FTX, about all these exchanges about a collapse. He was on target. He was right about them. He was right about all of them. He was right about the fact that other altcoins were eventually going to just start declining in price, because he knew that the government and the SEC is going to come after crypto. And mainly his biggest thing is like Ethereum. Ethereum is a security because of the ICO aspect to it. And so, after realizing that, personally, I was like, okay, I don't like a lot of risk. I like to be the least riskiest as possible when I'm investing. So I decided to uh basically go out of VeChain and go straight into Bitcoin. And this is now, Bitcoin's probably at 15K, right? So I started buying Bitcoin at 15K. It's the bear market. I've sold all my Ethereum for VeChain for a little bit, made a little bit of profit there, sold all, had NFTs in there, but I started buying Bitcoin at 15K and having Bitcoin in VeChain. And then, as I kept learning and everything, he just kept convincing me why Bitcoin is the better option. Like I have a more guaranteed success with Bitcoin for the long run. And that's what I look for. I'm a long-term investor. I'm not here for short-term quick gains, like get rich overnight kind of thing. I'm here to make decades worth of wealth, not just riches. There's a difference between those two. So I started basically limiting how much I have in VeChain and going into Bitcoin. Started learning about Ethereum, how it's basically, just a security, and also the fact how it brings no value to the space. Like, I mean, it doesn't solve anything. Its fees are really, really high. It's not a currency. It's different from Bitcoin. And that's the biggest thing, learning the difference between Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies. Majority of cryptocurrencies are scams. Majority of cryptocurrencies are not solving anything, and they're just companies, not currencies. They're companies funding themselves with retail investors and then just dumping the bag on you later. So I became super ultra bullish on Bitcoin and was still dabbling with NFTs. And then I was slowly becoming a Bitcoin maxi. And then one day I'm on the coin market cap, and I'm just taking a look at the Bitcoin comments, because sometimes people put some good analysis on there. And I see someone say, Satoshi made Kaspa. I was like, Satoshi made Kaspa? I was like, oh snap. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know why, it just caught my eye, because I'm like, to make a claim that Satoshi made Kaspa, or like Satoshi made another coin, that's such a random claim. Why would you make a claim like that? So I was like, let me research this. So I went into Kaspa on CoinMarketCap, and then I literally saw the all-time chart. And when I first found Kaspa, the price was at 0.019, and or 18 actually. And when I saw it, the all-time chart, it was completely just going up in a bear market. And I was like, hold up. There's a reason why a coin's doing this in a bear market. It doesn't, no coin just does that because it's a pump and dump, or like there's a reason why it's just been going up for like legit a year straight solid. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna research this. And then when I was looking in the news stuff for Kaspa and CoinMarketCap, I was seeing things that the founder is in the Ethereum white paper. I was like, what in the world? And I kept looking. And then when I came to the Kaspa homepage, I was like, this is like super organized. I read that Kaspa is the fastest open source, decentralized, and fully scalable layer one in the world. I was like, what in the world? So I was like, first I was like, let me look at the tokenomics, because I learned a lot about looking at the tokenomics and researching. So I look at the tokenomics, and I find out that there was literally no pre-sales, no ICOs, no private investors, nothing, no pre-mine, nothing. And I was like, what in the world? Like, how? No way. But I was like, okay, so why is this like a gem? Why is it so good? But then when I started looking deeper, I figured out that it's completely different from a blockchain, and it's actually a block DAG, and then the first block DAG to ever exist. And then when I found this, the visualizer for the block DAG, I was like, wait a second, what is going on here? Like, this is crazy. 1 second block times? This is way better than Bitcoin. And thankfully, I was not closed-minded. I was slowly becoming a Bitcoin maxi, but I knew that if another coin was following Bitcoin fundamentals, it was worthy to be invested in. Because like I think it would be SEC resistant, and you don't have to worry about the government getting on top of you. And then I think that this space is like there's not just gonna be one thing that exists and then there's nothing that's gonna be better than it. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like I think there's room for it. I'm not saying Caspa's gonna beat Bitcoin, be number one, or pass its market cap, but I think Kaspa can at least get in the top 10 because it's literally following Bitcoin's fundamentals, and it solves the trilemma. Like it solves all of its problems. So I kept looking into this. I kept learning about the founder, that he's in the Ethereum white paper. I started reading his Medium articles. I started just doing deep research into Kaspa. I went into the Discord and everything. And when I was in the Discord, I was just like, man, like how can I even help contribute to this? I wish I was a developer on this. Like I want to work on this project and do something. But I have no experience with coding or anything like that. So then I started looking on YouTube. And when I was looking on YouTube for Caspa content, there was like nothing. And I was like, all right. And if there was content, it was all right content, but it was just more of that shilling only kind of content. There was no like educational videos like teaching you why Caspa is so great, like researching, doing deep dives into it and all that kind of stuff. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know, I think I could bring be a good content creator for Caspa, like, because there's no YouTuber that does Caspa content only. There's YouTubers that do Caspa content, but they talk about other cryptos all the time. And personally, since I was already becoming a Bitcoin maxi, found Caspa, and I started transitioning. I literally started selling all my VeChain. I started selling all my NFTs. I started just putting it all into Caspa because my conviction was so high after my deep dive research that I personally did. So then, after looking on YouTube, not finding anything, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be that guy. So, I just started my channel, and that first ever video was Kaspa, the digital silver, Kaspa, the only other alternative to Bitcoin. Major claims there, but it had to be made. I had to start talking about this gem because it was absolutely amazing. So, and now we're here. We're here 2 months later. I've been super consistent, making videos every single day during the week. We're currently at 1,300 subscribers. I'm absolutely like just blown away and blessed from the support that I've gotten on this channel. And like, yes, I'm making money from this, and my goal on this channel is to be fully transparent all the time. I'm not here just to try to make money. I'm here to give you guys value. I'm here to actually do deep dives into Caspa. Like these two videos are super great right here. These two videos are about almost 30 minutes here, and it just goes deep into the whole history of Caspa and why like it's a no-brainer in my opinion. But again, you got to do your own research. You have to make your own decisions because I personally don't want my viewers to just dump their money into something they don't understand. I don't want my viewers to be buying Caspa if they have debt, or if they don't even have an emergency fund, or if you don't even have a retirement account. Those things are important. And when I start up my main channel again, I hope you guys would be interested in joining that main channel, because if you're a US investor, I'm gonna be talking about things you should be doing, aside from just investing into crypto. Like you should have a retirement account. You should have an emergency fund. And I think making this channel, I wanted to bring something completely different to the crypto space on YouTube, because for one, there's not many YouTubers that really talk about managing your finances as a whole. It's mainly just XRP videos. This is gonna go to the moon. This is cool. Shiba Inu to $1 soon, and just a bunch of nonsense. And I was like, no. That's why, the motto on this channel is don't be average, be different. I live by that motto because, I'm not trying to be an average person. What does the average person do? The average person does not understand what they're investing in. They listen to some thumbnail that they see saying something's gonna go to $1, buy it, and then when they lose, they leave. The average person doesn't have an emergency fund. The average person doesn't try to get manage their finances and get rid of their debt. The average person doesn't want to look to learn and how to create wealth and to understand their finances. So, I was like, I want to be different. And on this channel, I was heavily inspired by Bitcoin University, his dedication to only Bitcoin content and his thumbnails not being so crazy and outrageous. I was inspired by his channel, and I was like, you know what? I know, like, I'm going against the ideology of Bitcoin is the only thing in the world, but I just don't believe, like, it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes I feel like people take the maximalism route for Bitcoin a little bit too seriously, and to me, it's not that serious. I'm not married to my investments. I have Kaspa. I think it's a long-term decade hold, like for decades for me to hold for a long term. And I don't only invest into Kaspa. Like, I have a retirement account. I buy stocks still. I have an emergency fund. I save my own money still. Like, I'm not dumping all my money into Kaspa. I'm not like that. Like, I'm trying to teach people why it's a worthy investment, but also telling people about their risk. I mean, who makes dedicated videos that talk about Kaspa as a risk? Like, I talk about the risky stuff about Kaspa. I talk about the people that bring up actual, like, valid points about why this is risky. The major thing that's risky about Kaspa is the fact that, one, it's super new. Number two, there's a ton of things that are still in development and have not even been put to the test. And as I always said, Kaspa is an unfinished project. That's a risk. Let's say these developments get pushed back, or something goes wrong and something doesn't work out. There's that chance, but there's always risk. There's risk in everything that you do. So you gotta know how much your risk tolerance is to actually get into something. So yeah, so ultimately I started making this channel. And then also, the biggest thing for me is that in the crypto space, there's not a ton of Christian YouTubers. And personally, I'm a professing believer in Jesus Christ. That is, like, my core belief, and that is what I want my viewers to know, because I would be a huge hypocrite if I gained all these viewers, all these followers or whatever, people seeing me, and all these people not once hear the name of Jesus Christ from my mouth, because then that would make me a hypocrite in my belief. And that's why I hold true to John 3:16 on the top of my banner, because that verse is a very simple verse, but it just says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that if anyone believes on him shall have eternal life. Anyone, whosoever. It doesn't matter what you do in this life. You're not good enough for God. It doesn't require you going to church. It doesn't require you doing anything like that. But ultimately, it just requires you having faith in his shed blood on the cross. That is what Jesus Christ did for us, to pay our sin debt. And so that one day I could see all of you guys in heaven. Because if you don't have faith in him, then you will not enter into heaven. It's that simple. Heaven has a strict immigration policy, and it's simply just faith. It's believing in Jesus Christ. And after you have that faith, that's going to cause you to have repentance of your sins, and it's going to make you have a different life. Your want tos are going to change. And ultimately, this is why I'm doing this channel. My channel is here to educate you guys, bring you guys value about crypto. I'm very passionate about finances, but just as much as I'm passionate about finances, I'm passionate about my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I think it's very important for you guys to at least hear the name. I'm not forcing you guys to do anything with that information, but I think it's crucial to everyone's life, and everyone should at least hear it one time. And as always, this channel is going to be focused on crypto content, but I'm not going to be afraid to promote my faith. And so that's huge for me, and that's why I'm very transparent on this channel. And I want to ensure that my viewers are getting valuable content. So I'm approaching 30 minutes here, and I just want this to be the trailer video for my channel so that people can get a good rounded view on who I am and what you're getting into on this channel. So thank you guys so much for the support. Appreciate it all. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here. And as always, don't be average, be different.